Now, if you're like me, you've probably seen a lot of Filipinos in your place. In fact, you've probably seen a lot of nurses, teachers, and other folk in your home country. They are from the Philippines. You've probably seen a lot of Filipino nurses in your place, and a lot of Filipino teachers too. Maybe even a doctor or a physician's assistant or two. Possibly a construction worker or even a technician or two. In all likelihood, there are a lot of Filipinos in your place now. But there is a difference between the way Filipinos behave in your country and the way they behave in their own country. In your own country, you have a certain legal code that protects your rights. And in all likelihood, you have a legal code that protects their rights as well as all immigrants. One of the things that you will experience here is the senior pass. This is actually one of the things that happened to me. One day I was in line at the ATM at the bank. There were about 9 people ahead of me, all Filipinos. And there was a lady standing off to the side. She looked like she was about 58, 59 years old, roughly. But she was standing off to the side of the line, looking at her watch. And as 9 people went ahead of me, she just stood back and watched them go. She just stood back and let them go past her, standing at her watch, staring at her watch, like watching each person went by. So after about 40 minutes of standing in line, my turn came. And I walked up to the ATM. And when I got up to the ATM, she just inserted herself directly in front of me. Rather forcefully, I might add. Bear in mind, I was the only foreigner standing in line. But when I got up to the ATM, after 9 other people had gone ahead of me, again, she just forced herself in front of me like this and blocked the ATM. She was essentially insisting on her senior pass, her senior citizens discount. So I just kind of stood back for a moment and I quietly asked, ma'am, I said, why didn't you cut in front of her or any other person standing in line? There was a lot of people in line. And she goes, huh? You know, the way they do, pretending like she couldn't understand me. And I said, ma'am, there were a lot of other people in line. Why did you single me out? And she said, yes. That's all she said. So she didn't want to cut in front of a Filipino. She only wanted to cut in front of a foreigner. And she used her senior right to do so. So there was nothing I could do about it. You know the barangay is not going to side with me. And they're not going to side with you either. If you take that matter for mediation, of course they're going to side with her. So discrimination very much exists here. Another form of discrimination that I saw are price settings. There are different prices for foreigners than there are for Filipinos. One time I went to this resort and I wouldn't even call it a resort. I would just call it a beach, but they called it a resort. And you have to pay an entrance fee to get into that beach. And you have to pay an entrance fee to get into the beach house. Well, the entrance fee was about 50 pesos for Filipinos and 100 pesos for foreigners. Now, I'm just using the beach as an example because this has happened to me many, many times already since I've been here. Not only at that beach, but some vendors will do that. And some sellers will too. It's the famous skin tax. Now I know what you're thinking. I know what you're going to say. That's discrimination. How can they do that? You're probably saying to yourself right now, shoot, if we did that back home, we'd have the ACLU crawling up our asses so far we couldn't even walk for a week. If we tried to charge different prices to foreign nationals, if we tried to charge different prices to foreign nationals, higher prices than we charge everyone else, we'd get in trouble. That's illegal. Not only that, but if we tried to make them go to the back of the line or cut in front of them or make them go to the back of the bus like it was the 1930s or 1940s, that's a civil rights violation. We would get in big trouble for doing that back home. Charging higher prices, forcing foreigners to go back behind you, but not making Filipinos do the same. I know what you're saying. I know what you're thinking. That is discrimination. How can they do that? It's easy. They're still practicing segregation here. There are no laws to protect foreigners against that kind of behavior. So, if you come here, you will be discriminated. You better accept that as a fact right now. So the next time you see one of those Phil Ams over there in California or wherever protesting with their signs and complaining very vocally about how Tito and Tita are being treated by ICE and U.S. immigration, just remember where they are coming from. And just remember how we get treated over here